he indeed he's suggesting that if there is too much of an imbalance in society, that will have negative effects. And it's kind of, I mean, I feel it's true. I mean, why does somebody need more than $10 million, for example? I mean, seriously, that if you have more than $10-20 million, then how on earth are you going to spend that? So there are people that have like hundreds of millions of dollars, and that money doesn't really do anything. That is basically just there. It sits in a bank account. These are numbers, and they're not doing anything in the economy. So yeah, well, what to do about it? What is the responsibility? How far do you need to? How rich do you need to get in order to do that? So a more balanced society. So this is an American who's saying that, but I believe that basically, implicitly, in Japan, people are saying more or less the same. So we don't need. It's not good for society to create these enormous imbalances, and we should show some restraint to what extent we are building up. We're pulling all the wealth to ourselves instead of sharing more equally with the rest of society.
Yeah. So he also said he's one of the rich man.
Yeah.
So he clearly said he's rich, and he also said the why rich and poor, so the gap of rich and poor has been increasingly expanded is because they say it's not purely because of some mechanism economy,
right?
Of the top management and higher management has the power to widen the gap because they have a power they have the power to exercise to make a bigger gap. But the kind of the top management who has the power is given a chance to have a power. So that's a reasonable option to get the position which can exercise that power to make a bigger gap.
I don't know if you remember the video from Ian Bremmer. So there is always this argument, like, okay, we are not socialists, so we are not. You need to give incentives to people, otherwise the system doesn't work. So if you for people to use their talents to work hard and give them a financial reward. If you don't do that, then your economy will suffer, and it will ultimately be bad for everybody in the system. But what he is arguing is that actually he's not that much more talented than the people who make $50,000 a year. So what he's saying is that it's not just a matter of talent. I'm not just so much more talented. Basically, we can create a system, or we created a system that is actually enables us to basically leverage the system and to make much more money than based on only our talents we deserve. And Bremer was saying that basically what you see now is that we created so-called equal opportunities for all. That's what we are selling the world that we are living in equal opportunity. But actually what we see is that people in privileged positions create privileged positions for their children and their immediate friends, so that they also can dominate the system. So it's not like everybody has an equal opportunity, like the American dream, that if you work hard, then you can become a millionaire. That's not actually the real story here.
Yeah, it sounds too good for to be in practice.
Right, but if you look at what's happening in Japan at the moment, I say that there is more or less of a common understanding that it's not good for society that we are rewarding the people at the top disproportionately for their work and their effort. Of course, there is a difference in income, but not to the same extent as you see in the United States and in some other countries where the income gap is huge. That's not true in Japan. I believe that builds a much better society.
Yeah, Japan is a very special environment compared with the rest of the world, and fairly the annual income of the workers or employers are equal compared with the other people, the other countries. But problem is Japanese society itself is very inefficiency to earn money. So this is a big problem. They employed a lot of people rather than expected. So that is the other big issue for them. So the aspect is different.
Right.
Right?
Right. On the other hand, I'm not sure, but I have the feeling that the social welfare system in Japan is not as comfortable as it is, for example, in Scandinavia or Northern European countries.
Exactly. So Japanese people work still long hours, still now is long hours, but they can earn a suitable money
right
per person.
But yeah, which is really good. I think it gives people more. I mean, maybe it's not true for everyone, but I think that people, if they feel that they work and they do their best, then they're being appreciated. And it doesn't really matter what work you do. What matters is that you work and you try hard within your capabilities. So it doesn't really matter whether you are like organizing traffic around the construction site or whether you are you're a super high paid lawyer in okay. Yeah. So what I feel in Japanese society is there's kind of respect for people if they do their best and work hard. Then that doesn't really matter where you work, but as long as you work hard, there is respect. And I feel that is much stronger in Japanese society than it is in other societies. There is a tendency for people to look down on low added value jobs and to respect people that make higher salaries. I don't feel that Japan has that system.
So most big problem is in America. They have a big inequality in the business world, right?
Right.
But this is very difficult to solve these issues, especially for example, we discussed before IT large companies, and they try to move their headquarters to tax haven, and they don't pay tax. and also they just top executive get a lot of money. I think this is a big issue under discussion in the world, right?
Yeah, it is. It is a big issue, but the question is how are we going to save it? How are we going to restore it? Because there is a big incentive. There's a real big incentive for companies to shop around for their taxes, right? Because simply these companies can do it. They make the money to hire expensive lawyers and tax advisors, and basically, if you look at the world of tax is just like a shopping mall. You can you buy your clothes in one store, and you buy your toys in another, and you buy your food in the third one, and you make your choice based on your preferences. So people who have the capacity to hire these accounting firms, they they can open up, they can choose whatever tax regime they like, and set up shop there, and just let the money flow through there. And because there is this this is the reality, a lot of countries follow, and they create special tax facilities in order to make sure that they also can benefit from the global economy, and they can attract IT firms to let their headquarters be established in their country, so that at least they can get some tax. So this is a race to the bottom, and the question is how we can do it. But it's not only the corporations that are doing this; it's the same is actually true for private people, because if you earn a lot of money and you have a high tax burden, there are all kinds of facilities, things that you can do in order to reduce your tax burden. For example, if you buy real estate outside of Japan, then you can use that real estate, and you rent it out. You can use that real estate, and the amount that you purchase it for, and you can write it off from your tax burden to reduce your. So you build up assets overseas while reducing your tax burden. So it's not only on the corporate level; it's also on the personal level that people have opportunities to reduce their tax burden. But these opportunities are only available to people who have money. So effectively, companies make more money. They can pay people higher salaries, and these higher salaries can also be exempt for tax burden. So how are we going to fix that? We could argue that basically we should not focus on corporate taxes, but more on value-added taxes, because that is a more equal system, right? So it's not based on your income, but on the value added. Basically, where the income is generated, you need to pay value-added tax. So, for example, what France did, they wanted, or they're trying to. I'm not sure whether it still exists. It was an idea where Google would be taxed 3% for every search that was done in France.
That's right.
Because every search represented value, and that value that needs to be taxed. That was to be taxed. I think Trump made a very big brouhaha out of this, and he started to raise the import duties on French wine. But I think the idea in itself is probably not so bad in order to restore the balance. The only problem is that if you tax people, the value-added tax is basically not a proportional tax. Basically, it's because people who have little money, they consume more, they save less. So they pay more taxes.
Yeah, I read some articles this will going to be globally uh, uh, ruling out the kind of French government did. It's charging, you said, value-added tax for the IT company, even if they don't have headquarters in each local country. If they're going to sell something in the country, they're going to charge the tax for those sales. I read.
Yes.
And WTO, some other organization, they try to organize this kind of new rule.
Well, they need to do something, right? Because it is really the future of these corporate taxes. It's a race to the bottom, and it's very difficult to win. But still, we need to have some kind of tax base that we can use to tax against, because we need the money. We need the money for healthcare. We need the money for infrastructure. We need the money for to support people who really need it, for unemployment benefits or other kinds of investments that we need to make into our society. So if we can't tax people, then that comes to an end.
Exactly. By the way, you told that not only the corporate tax but also personal tax, they evade tax by personal level, and they escape their money to make investment. For example, real estate overseas, right? They try to evade their payment of tax, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know that kind of system, how they're going to save money. But is this they can save tax kind of investment overseas?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, because it's kind of a famous example where if you invest in real estate, then you can deduct the write-off of this real estate from your income. So if you buy a wooden house, then you can write it off in 20 years or something. If you buy a house made of bricks, you can write it off in 38 years. And if you buy a concrete house, it's in 40-something years. And if you buy an old wooden house, then you can write it off even quicker, in 4 or 5 years.
I don't understand well. Overseas investment, you say?
Yeah, or in Japan. It can also you can also do it in Japan. But the thing in Japan is that actually they really write off in that period. But in overseas, actually, for example, in Europe, the houses do not really depreciate in value with age. In Japan they do, but in Europe they don't. So a house that's 100 years old is not necessarily cheaper than a new house.
You mean depreciation?
Depreciation, yeah. But in Japan, it's really like, okay, after about 25 years, your wooden house basically needs to be renewed, so be torn down and rebuilt. But that's not necessarily true overseas.
I don't understand well. For example, they make investment $10 million overseas, real estate investment. How can they going to be saved tax?
Because there's no double taxation. You can buy a real estate and write it off. If you need to pay tax in Japan, if I need to pay tax in Japan and I buy a real estate in...
Wait a minute, what kind of tax? What kind of tax are you talking about? Not income tax.
If I need to pay income tax in Japan, because my income is here, then I don't need, not only need to pay income tax over my income in the Netherlands, but also my income in Japan, but also in the Netherlands, for example, because this is my main, this is my place of residence. So if I make money in the Netherlands, I need to pay income tax in Japan over that money.
But how he can save tax payment in Japan?
Oh, okay. So basically, let's say that I make $100,000, but I buy a house of $300,000 in the Netherlands. Then I have the option to that house, $300,000. Let's say that I can write it off in 10 years. Yeah. So I can write it off in 10 years. That means that every year I can write off $30,000, right? So that $30,000, because I can write it off in that period, I can reduce my income from $100,000 to $70,000. So 100,000 minus 30,000 is $70,000. That means that I need to pay income tax not over $100,000 that I made, but over the $70,000 after I reduce for depreciation of my house.
You mean depreciation? But your example is extreme, but maybe not $30,000, maybe less than 10,000, like 5,000.
Yeah, it's extreme.
Depreciation is, I think, more than 20 years, 30 years. So not much money.
Yeah, but not if the house is old. If I buy an old house, then I can write it off quicker.
Really?
Yeah.
But that's not so much saving money, right?
Yeah, it does save money. Let's say that you're making that. Let's say, for example, I'm making a lot of money in Japan. Then my tax bracket is high. That means that that effectively I might pay up to close to 50% money, 50% of tax. In this case, I can reduce 100,000 minus the 30,000. That 30,000 would have been
Oh boy, your voice lost. Suddenly your voice lost. No. Wait a minute. Suddenly. No, I can't hear you. No, I can hear you. Suddenly. You didn't do anything? Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay. So if I
I had something kind of how to be less tax method. Yes, but what you're talking is it doesn't make sense. Well, how come the same tax approach is I didn't know that before. For example, I invested money, $500,000 to the States for the condominium investment. This kind of save tax actually. Yeah, I don't know how they do that. They actually, some investment bank just give us information. Yeah, several people join, several people get together to make investment to American real estate investment and actually physically save tax, something like that. You said.
Yeah.
But your example is right. Everything extreme, 100,000 investment, but 30,000 depreciation. So, but anyway, just kind of system we have. Yeah. But I don't know. I forget that. Okay, maybe they did doing something, right? Yes.
Right. The point is that kind of facility is only available to people who have lots of money. So effectively, their tax rate, what they are paying effectively over their income is a lower percentage of people who make less money, which is not really fair. That's not how the system is designed.
But personal tax rather than personal tax is a big problem with corporation tax, right?
Yeah, so, but it's not only corporation tax. I mean, people, there is a tendency to say, oh, corporate tax people, these big corporations, they are kind of evil to avoid taxes. But then look at what people are doing on an individual level. Also people trying to avoid their tax burden. So everybody is trying to do it. Nobody really wants to pay taxes, but everybody reasonably needs to have tax revenue.
When I was rich, I tried to doing that kind of how to evade tax, but I couldn't do that actually. I tried to do many things, but it was difficult to save tax. Company income tax is very easy to control those because their sales and their cost is their financial statement is published. So currently, many companies try to move headquarters to tax havens, but actually problem is very prevailing, obviously, how to change the social system. So this kind of sort of things is very obvious. But personal case is very difficult to grasp their real, asset or the actual income. Right?
Right. By the way, I don't think this makes much sense for Juva who didn't see the video, no?
Yeah, Yuba is just he maybe you join Yuba. Yuba, are you joining now?
Yeah, Juva is joining.
Could you hear me?
Yeah.
Edson's name. Could you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
I can hear you.
now.
Oh, only now. I'm so sorry.
Or just you return.
My camera. I was here. I think I'm just left behind the topic. I know what the topic it's about.
Yeah, exactly. So, Unusa, we cannot do that. We need to see the video, otherwise it doesn't make sense to us.
Yes. It's been a long time, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I think you have it, right? You're recording.
Yeah.
Can you share it with us?
Oh, not share?
No.
But just only the, oh. Hmm? This one? Okay, I share.
Okay, thank you.
But that today is just only sharing your picture. Okay, go ahead. Ed.
No, actually, I think you need to start your video, otherwise you will not get a good recording. We tried that before.
Yeah, I'm recording now.
No. The video we're talking about.
Oh, you want to show video?
Yeah, because Yuva didn't see it, so she has no idea what we're talking about.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, what he's saying here, and what I really think is true, is that we really started to believe our own economic models. And the model is just, an economic model is there to more or less simplify a very complex system in which we make assumptions which are, of course, ridiculous. Even economists would agree to the fact that basically a human is not just an economic actor who is only acting in his own self-interest in order to do what's best for him. That's not the reality. People are not like that. People also show altruistic behavior. We cannot explain that into economic models because it's a simplification. But the thing is that once we created these economic models and the assumptions that underlie it, we started to believe in it, and we actually started to act on it. And that is something that is that's actually kind of dangerous, because even the inventor of for example, GDP agreed and mentioned. I think it was Juglar. He even said that, okay, so this is a way that we can measure our economic activity, but don't ever consider to actually use it, because it's a horrible measurement. It's a simplification. It's just a way to measure it, but never use this as a true indicator of how we are doing as a society. And what he's arguing is that actually the things that we are assuming that always happens, like for example, if prices increases, then automatically the demand must go down. It's not true. We see it in a lot of instances in the world around us, where even if the prices are increasing, it doesn't necessarily mean that the demand goes down. And there are many things in our economy that we cannot explain. However, we all believe that, like an example that he gave, that the purpose of our company is to increase shareholder value, and we need to do that. That's why we need to make sure that we don't pay our people high wages, because that would basically mean that we have to reduce our demand for labor, and that would ultimately be bad for the shareholders and for the workers. It's not exactly true. We now see new CEOs coming to power, new leaders, new business leaders, who are challenging these ideas, and that they're only there to maximize shareholder value. We have a very big chemical company in the Netherlands who actually, in their annual statement last year, said, okay, well, if you are just, to their shareholders, and especially their shareholders, if you are only interested in maximizing shareholder value, then don't invest in us. We believe that we, as a company, have a responsibility not only to you as a shareholder, but also to our workers and also to the society around us. We are aiming at maximizing the value for the entire world around us, and not just for the shareholders. And lo and behold, we see that actually this company is doing fantastic. Not only giving back to the shareholders, but also doing well for their people and investing heavily in clean technology. So it is absolutely possible. It is absolutely possible, but everybody started to believe a narrative that was never designed to completely drive our behavior, but it has become that way. And liberal economics is widespread and everywhere around us, and that has led to the enormous income gaps that we're seeing today.
This one is last message, very understandable. We have a history of kind of thinking approach in Japan in past several hundred years. But
Right.
American people or European people, I think they need to consider for the owners first, company owners first,
Right.
Top executive first, like banking and sort of company, they try to get more money by CEO and also shareholders. But recently they're gradually understanding that is wrong. So they're going to change more focus on workers, right? By the way, what is his message first and second you mentioned? I don't understand clearly. What is this? Is the capitalism is they are more complexing the company, right? What
Right.
this mean? I don't understand. What's his message?
His message is that basically we need to challenge neoliberal economics and its ideas, because they are not they're not true. We need to be more inclusive and more. And cooperation is not just a shareholder value maximizing construction that is aiming at reducing its costs, for example, for labor, and maximizing the profit that it can give to its shareholders. That has become the mainstream thinking, and that has led to incomes, wages for workers to grow very modestly over the past 20, 30 years, whereas the shareholders have seen a huge increase in their revenues because of this neoliberal thinking. And what he's arguing is that actually all these neoliberal beliefs that come from this theory, they are not actually true. So neoliberalism is not exactly true. He gave the example of Seattle, where they raised the minimum wages, and according to neoliberal theory, that should mean that that should result in high unemployment. But that didn't happen. Actually, the higher wages resulted in the economy of Seattle to grow faster because people spent more money. Because they made better wages and they could actually consume a little bit more, especially if you pay people in the lower income brackets more money. That leads immediately to higher consumption because those people do not have the capacity to save a lot of money. That means that basically that money goes directly back into the economy, which leads to economic growth.
This is the same scenario we discussed before about
UBI.
Right, exactly. So we're going to distribute money, they're going to spend more money.
Right, raising minimum wages, raising lower wages, giving people a guaranteed income, that is actually good for the economy.
Mm. That's right. Might be true.
It didn't give us any sense to start, where to start, how to start. So it just sounds like a beautiful story. Then he said he wants everyone to choose this way. But after the presentation, the lady came into him and asked him, why don't you hold out your money you earn from this society? That he said is not good. But he said, I could, but I don't.
But he's talking
in that way, it's gonna happen, and yeah, it never happened. Then we don't know where to start, how to start.
Okay, well, actually, I do not agree, because I think that he's talking at a TED conference. That is, these tickets to these TED conferences are kind of expensive, and there's a lot of business leaders coming to these talks. What he is saying is that the way that we, the business owners, the leaders, management of these corporations are leading is based on neoliberal economic thinking. And what we need to do is we need to make sure that we're not only focused on optimizing shareholder value, that we should not necessarily believe that if we are going to increase the wages that it will have disastrous consequences for our company. That we need to think more widely what our responsibility is as business leaders, because we can make a change not only in the way that we make money, but also our impact on society. What the fact that we are possibly polluting, that we have a responsibility for our workers, besides our shareholders. So he wants to basically question our fundamental belief system that exists, but it hasn't been around all that long. It just happens to be very fashionable at the moment.
Yeah, he said the balance of companies for whom we are working, right? So society and workers and communities, and not only shareholders. So currently, the American and European companies must very focus on how to get profit for shareholders. So he said that is wrong, right? So we need to consider not only getting profit, but we're going to share the company value to diversified, interest groups.
Yeah, we have known that too much for a long time. So it's not new concept, new idea.
Yeah, that's right. But America, not like that. European company is not like that. Japanese company try to do that, but actually, beforehand I told you, Japanese company itself is very inefficient operation. That's the reason profit itself is very small. So this is a problem. So Japanese is different from the rest of the world. American, European, American is typical. We are America first is a very similar idea. So we want to CEO get money and management get money. Then we're going to share profit to shareholders. This is wrong. This is recently they getting recognized the kind of issues. But Westerners and Americans so far they didn't recognize the kind of issues what we are thinking about.
Okay, but at least I couldn't find any sense of what's going to happen on his new idea, new economic policy, new economic the framework. Then that Edison said they have been doing so, but in doing some action on the new concept of economy, what happened and what's going to happen.
So, for example,
you don't hear any sense of that idea in this present. Yeah, that's
okay. So,
that's the problem. We can go into something good and so what?
So what though? Okay, I think it's important. So basically, he supported the
West. We have already known too much for a long time. It's not. Yeah.
But that's not true. I mean, basically, for example, the example that you gave about minimum wage, according to many people, if we raise wages, that would result in lots of jobs being lost, right?
Yeah, we know the problem, but he said he would do, or he started doing.
He supports that. So he supports politicians. He donates for campaigns. He advocates these kinds of decisions. So basically, he's lobbying for these kinds of changes. So his background is that he is politically active, and he's trying to make changes and support politicians who want to implement these ideas.
What lobbying? What do you mean?
Oh, did I say presentation?
No, what he's questioning is the belief that our economy works according to the neoliberal ideas. The neoliberal ideas is that that's not what's actually happening around us. We are not exactly as people made us believe in these economic theories. These are simplifications. The reality is different. And he gave us examples of the way that the economy responded to differently from what neoliberal economics is teaching us. And I'm not sure whether it was in this movie or in another movie, but it's very easy to look at somebody, okay, well, if you know so well, then give us your money. I think that's not a constructive solution. We need to change institutionally, not asking some people to give more of their money. Basically, we need to change the world and the way that the system works. I think Japan has a role as an example where we are trying to be more inclusive, more balanced, and not just following neoliberal economic theory, but making sure that there is enough for everybody to get by, and thereby creating a better society.
I don't understand. You said lobbying politics. What does this mean?
this Adenauer he's spending quite a lot of money on to support politicians who are who want to implement these ideas. For example, increasing minimum wage. These kinds of political movements that he's supporting there.
Or is he famous in doing that?
Yeah, he's a rather famous donor, politically active. So he's sharing his ideas as a political activist. Yeah.
Or did he say something that he's doing now to change that the traditional economy?
I'm not sure that it was in this video, but there was.
I didn't hear specific action, specific example that he's doing.
Okay, no, well, he probably didn't tell this because I don't think he wants to say, okay, I'm doing so great. I'm not really sure, Takai-san, whether it is more powerful to show, okay, what am I doing? What can I do? Basically, showing us, the world, how the system that we are believing in is not exactly working as we designed to do, and actually is having a negative impact on our society. That in itself is a strong message. That, okay, so then what are you doing? It's basically like, okay, you're signaling a problem in your company, and then when you point it out, okay, so then how are you going to fix it? That's not very constructive, I believe, because that really discourages people from pointing out problems where they exist. Pointing out problems where they exist should not automatically obligate people to actually solve them.
Yeah, but as presentation is not new if you don't say anything about the solution to some way to get there. Yeah, the problem he said is again well known by everyone. The world is not unfair, and unfairness is increasingly expanded. Then those who think it's not fair, it's not good, wants to change it. So that's kind of fine.
So what he's saying is that we need to stop believing in the neoliberal economic theories, because the world doesn't exactly work like this, and we need to think about more being more inclusive, and not only focusing on shareholder value, but making sure that people get ahead, and that people are the drivers of economic growth. So we should look after our people, not only the shareholders. I think that is something. If that is so widespread, then why are there so many people who 100% believe in neoliberalism, starting with the President of the United States, who is a 100% believer in neoliberalism?
Yeah, but this is a very big difference from Japanese thinking approach. So just he made discussion for American companies to improve their thinking approach. They change their management style, right?
Guys, sorry, I just see the time.
Okay, so now is time. Okay, thank you very much for today. We are closing. By the way, you are still remaining another couple weeks, right?
Yes.
For busy time.
Last day of the tournament is November 2nd. That's
Okay.
the final.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Japan will not be in it.
Okay, thank you very much for joining today. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
This Saturday, we're going to invite Sonoda. Okay?
Oh, okay.
So, see you guys. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Cuba. Bye-bye. Okay.